Alright, so we're still in the HC/HTML table ASPX file, and we're looking at the page load, wondering how it works. Now, we see that we have a for loop here, and we're like, wait a second, this looks like it's creating a table. Well, what's it doing? Because it made 10 things, and it didn't do it the first time, and what's going on? Alright, well, we come back, and we view the design. You'll note that when we work with this, when we first come in, we're doing it with table row is equal to 1, table cell is equal to 1. These are the selected values of our selections. And that's what it's taking. So if we looked at our browser here and we refresh this, this is still going to come back as 10 and 7. When you work with other programs, you were putting JavaScript in there before, right? JavaScript in there to make sure that it remembered what the selection was, blah, 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 blah. And then it just messed everything up because it had to come through, it came in as 1, this and this and that, and then you had JavaScript to fix it and all this other stuff, and it had to happen on this side and that. Put it at the bottom of the page, put it at the top of the page. And I'm saying it like that because that's exactly the way it was. Crazy. Alright, the view state's long, but this is a lot easier. So what it does is it comes in 1 and 1, and when we actually take a peek at this, we can't look at this one. We have to actually do it at 1 and 1 and do it from there. You see 1 and 1. 1 row, 1 cell. And that's just taking up that thing, that little area there. So that's how it works. It comes through and it actually goes through, and it's very easy. One little loop here at the top of your page. If you want to do it like this, go for it. And it's getting the select1.value. It knows about it because it's a server-side control, server-side connection down here at the bottom. Name is select1, ID is select1, run at server. That's where it's getting that information from. It knows it. When it comes to the client, when it comes to the browser, run at server's gone, the processing's been done, and then just displays the HTML. Very, very nice HTML for us, optimized for us. And that's great. Well, not always optimized. I don't want to say that, but you have to look at it and make things work for you, really. So that's how that's going to work. If we look back here at the code, just to make sure we got everything, at the bottom end, we're doing the same or similar thing with our table. We're using a table tag here, HTML control, instead of actually working with the span like we did before, and this is going to do the run at server. So you want to take a look at those namespaces to get more details on that. That's just another great example that we can work with. We'll close everything, look at our solution. Now we'll look at the data binding with the selections, and we'll just run this. View in browser, look at the embedded browser, notice that this is the HTML web URL going on. You can look at it in the regular browser as well. Well, nothing's in there. So let's see what's going on. We'll actually come over here. We'll do a view source, view HTML source. This is actually using a code behind here. And we didn't bring that in there. So we don't want this to be a code behind. This is not what we want. So we want to get rid of all of this because we have a code behind version of that. We'll save that because that's using a code behind file and it doesn't exist, a CS file that it's looking for. So now we will refresh this. And you have to keep an eye out for that because that can happen to you. You get a code behind file, you bring it in, it didn't have a code behind file, now you do, well, it's going to mess everything up because the functionality is going to be looking for it on the code behind side. So that's a good little tip there that happens ad hoc. So here's what we're doing in this page load, which is very interesting. We're doing this is post back, but we're actually waiting for this. This is going to actually be set when you post it back, but not the first time. The last page we did, we actually created something each time. We didn't worry about it coming back the first time. And this is that standard way of doing things that you might be used to when you worry about working with your same form on the same page, and then you post it to the server and it comes back. You have to watch for the variables at the top of the page, put some JavaScript in somewhere to do something, worry about that code, spaghetti code at the top, looping through, making sure everything's fitting correctly. Well, is post back. Much easier. This is internal. If the page is posted back, you can just reference this. If it's not a post back, then we're just going to do this. Meaning that we just need to set things up as usual. Note that this is just an array list. It's going to set up our values just as we need them. And if you wanted to, you could sort the list too. If you look here in the browse, this is not sorted. New York's down up here and New Mexico's down there. We can sort that too using some of that great .NET functionality. And then what we do is we take our state here, which is a selection, go to the data source, and we're going to actually bring the values in here, this array, put it into our data source for this selection, and then we're going to call data bind, and that's all we need to do to set up this selection box. None of that nonsense about creating your HTML and making sure that selected's there, and if it's not, then you have to have JavaScript at the bottom of the page to put that selection in there. And I love saying it like that because it makes sense to what I'm saying, and if you know and if you have to do that and you've done it, then you definitely know what I'm talking about. Rah, 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 blah, blah, blah. Who wants to do that, right? This is easier, much easier. And then we just have our submit button click that we can reference down there for the event. This is going to be doing some inner HTML, changing that. You chose this state. This is an event, and it doesn't matter about the postback or whatever, because this is just going to happen when you click, and you can see that right here, the click, on server click. And again, this is not a postback, so you're wondering where the other values are. If this is a postback, well, it's going to reference the view state. It's going to remember what our controls look like based on the view state, and that's going to be the key. So only do this if it's not posting back, because there's no view state really, and we have to worry about this right here. Create those selections, and then the view state's going to take care of everything else on the way back.